I don't know that I thought of this before at the time. I don't remember talking about it exactly this way at the time, but just how much of this plotting is not done by Richard. It's done by Buckingham.
Yeah, and that is not how played that either.
No.
How did she play it?
She kind of played it like she was Richard's sidekick. Whatever Richard wanted, she was going to go ahead and go do that for him.
Yeah,
Just so that she wouldn't die.
Even takes on some of Richard's kind of mannerisms, right? Thank you, my lord. This little prating York was not incensed by his subtle mother. I mean, maybe Buckingham talks that way. I don't know, but that sounds a lot like a Richard line.
It does. You go back through and read this, you're like, oh, he could have totally played that a different way. And it would have made Buckingham, instead of like this dude that's like, oh, I'm going to try just, I'm going to just go with the flow, man. I'm just trying not to die. So like, almost like the mastermind.
As I recall, part of her thing with Buckingham is that, just as Michaela's thing with Richard is that he's essentially conditioned into being the way he is and behaving the way he does. The thought was that Buckingham essentially spent too much time with Richard. By aligning himself with Richard, essentially becomes Richard.
I think that you must have that in yourself already in order to pull it from another person.
He's got good ideas, right? He's loyal. He's seems to be pretty amoral. Doesn't have trouble doing a lot of like things he shouldn't do.
But what does it matter if you die in the end?
Well, not much for him, obviously. That's sort of the moment, right? I mean, that was what did so well, right? Was like loading that moment so that when Richard turned on Buckingham, it was like me? I clearly should have seen this coming, and yet, like, I also clearly thought I was exempt.
Well, you have to feel like you're pretty damn special to think that you're the exception to a rule.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty cocky.
Yeah.
Arrogant, yeah, for sure.
I don't think it's cocky and arrogant. I think it's naiveness. Like, it's a bit of naivete on the part of the person who thinks that it won't happen to them.
Right. I think, yeah. That's a good point.
When she talked about it, it was like Buckingham decided a while ago to hitch his wagon to Richard. And when Buckingham makes up his mind to hitch his wagon to someone, that's it. Like the way that Buckingham frames it to himself is loyalty.
Mm-hmm. So loyalty is looked at as an admirable trait. So if you can lie to yourself and be like, well, I'm just doing all this stuff because I'm loyal, rather than I'm naive or I am cocky, that makes it easier to swallow the things that you're doing.
Sometimes I will kind of know I'm being naive, but still go for it.
Well, then you're making a choice.
Exactly. We all everything is a choice.
I mean, everything's a choice, but when you're making a decision to continue doing something, be out of loyalty or out of love or out of wanting to get ahead in the world, if you're doing it under the pretenses of, oh, this isn't going to happen to me, like it's still being naive.
Well, in that sense, we're all a little naive, I think, then.
Except for Richard.
And I wonder if there are different kinds of naivete, because what Buckingham says when ultimately he tries to remind Richard of like multiple times, hey, later in the play, hey, remember how you promised me that title and that land? Can we talk about that? And Richard's like, no. And he says, and is it thus repays he my deep service with such contempt? Made I him king for this? And so maybe the naivete isn't just thinking that this guy's gonna, not even just like, it's a business kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, that sounds like it. Maybe he's naive about Richard, but like that, this is a person who's like not naive about the ways of the world.
Oh yeah, I don't even think he's naive about Richard.
But if he wasn't naive about Richard, he would have seen that he was going to eventually come to his end.
I think he just positioned himself in the best position to get by.
That's what we were talking about with Anne. You know, there are a bunch of characters in this play who it's just like they're just trying to position themselves so that they have a better chance of surviving.
Right.
Most of the
Some just fell at the bottom.
Yeah, there could have come a point where Buckingham could have, I mean, like in his head, he could have thought maybe there will come an opportunity where I can get people against Richard too. Like there's always these what ifs, and what if this changes, then I can survive.
Yeah, Buckingham was playing the game of Survivor.
Yes.
He picked the wrong alliance.
As a professional, what would you like to see more explored?
I mean, there's so many different avenues to go down with this play. I'm just not real interested in doing Shakespeare traditionally anymore because of the work in this program.
I think it's interesting that us as former inmates can open up people's eyes the way we do. I think it's quite powerful.
Big part of why we're doing what we're doing right now.
Exactly.
Kind of the reason.
Yeah.